Well, all right. Star Child, citizens of the universe, recording angels. We have returned to claim the pyramid. Partying on the mothership. I am the mothership connection.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to World One Development News You Can Use. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Charles Harper.
And I'm Damali Wilson.
Hey, and we're doing something a little different. Hopefully, y'all can hear us out there. If you can, let us know.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to World One Development News You Can Use. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Charles.
Wasn't playing. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get ready and get started with the show. You know how it goes. Technical difficulties happen; they just pop up all around. So here we go. So hello everyone and welcome to World One Development's News You Can Use. We want to thank everyone for either listening on the radio, watching us on Facebook Live, or on www.kbob899.com, or tuning into any of the News You Can Use media networks, which are powered by World One Development. We really appreciate that. I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss Damali Wilson.
And I'm Charles Harper. It's Wednesday, aka Hump Day, November 12th, 2025. And we are live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. right here on KBOB 89.9 FM and simulcast on the News You Can Use Media Network, powered by World One Development. We are set for an exciting show, you guys. You better call your mom and them and tell them you can dial in at 918-856-3873 or post your comments on our Facebook Live feed at World One Development.
So on today's show, it's the medical report with Dr. Andre Perdue. Our topic, 3 things caregivers should know when caring for someone who has had a stroke or heart attack.
Yep. We'll also give our reaction to the movie Sarah's Oil.
And of course, our Hump Day hot topics, which are it's day 43 of the government shutdown. Let's talk about what's happening, and SNAP benefits update, birthdays, and more.
This is News You Can Use right here on KBOB 89.9 FM and simulcast on the News You Can Use Media Network, powered by World One Development. We're going to bust a quick move, y'all. We got a loaded show today. We got the doctor in the house, so we getting set. We getting ready to launch off. We're getting this airplane jet fuel ready. Damali look like she ready. So we're going to take a real quick commercial break. Big Stephen Keys is in the building, but when we come back, we got something for y'all. It's the medical report today. We'll be right back, y'all. KBOB 89. you can use right here on KBOB 89.9 FM and simulcast on the News You Can Use Media Network, powered by World One Development.
And we are back. So News You Can Use is all about shedding some light on the positive happenings in our community. There are many great businesses, programs, and events occurring in our neighborhood, and we felt the community needed to hear about those things, one, so we can support, and two, so we can be informed.
What's going on, family? I'm Charles Harper, Chief Executive Officer of World One Development, which includes fitting back in EduRec Youth and Family Fun Center, 36th Street North Event Center, and NYCU.FM. My job, because the world wants to know, is to provide leadership for all aspects of World One Development with the emphasis on long-term goals, growth, profits, and a return on that great investment. I am so excited and I am so elated to be one of the creators of this phenomenal show.
And I'm Damali Wilson, Chief Operating Officer for World One Development. And my job is designing and implementing business operations and establishing policies that promote company culture and vision. I am also in charge of social media for all of the World One Development entities. If you would like to advertise your business or organization on this show or any of our other individual platforms, please inbox me your contact information on Facebook Messenger so we can talk. I'm also happy and elated to be one of the creators of this phenomenal show.
Damali, it's hump day. What's going on with you?
Boy, trying to catch up from the last weekend. I'm telling you, it has been crazy.
You know what? This is like one of those times where no matter who I talk to, Damali, everybody responds to how you doing.
Yes.
I'm busy. You know, for the first time, normally, I don't know nobody that's chilling this time. I don't know what's going on,
right?
Or what's in the air. I don't know what's in the water, but everybody right now, I think people just making halftime adjustments.
Well, yeah, that's necessary in the times we living in right now.
Yeah.
But I think that people too are trying to go along with life, you know, despite all the crazy that's going on, you still try to find some happiness and some normalcy in what's going on right now. So yeah, it's just busy. It's just stuff going on everywhere.
Yeah. I think what happens is news drives us to make adjustments, even if it's in our subconscious. You know, so when our leaders settle down, we settle down.
Right.
But when everybody's it's like this. If you're growing up, if mama's uneasy, guess what?
Man, everybody. Yep.
If daddy come in and throw the remote down and run in the room and close the door, what's wrong with daddy? We can't get on with life.
Right.
Till we know the leaders are all right.
Exactly.
So shout out to our leaders, because maybe we don't know what y'all dealing with on the so maybe we'll have to extend y'all some grace too.
Man.
But maybe clue us in. We at least can pray for you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking
Let
about,
us know something. Let us know something.
Right. So I appreciate y'all tuning in with us today, because we do bring you news that you can use, and we got a load today. Damali, how was your weekend?
Man, so you know, on Saturday we actually had man, it was going crazy on Saturday. So Saturday we had Black History Saturdays,
right,
which was amazing, and we had the amazing opportunity of also doing Second Saturday with Asbury United, or Asbury Tulsa. I keep wanting to say UMC, but Asbury Tulsa. We've been doing that for 14 years now.
14 years. That's called consistency.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's consistency right there.
So for those of you who don't know what Second Saturday is, Asbury, they actually partner with a whole lot of different people all across the city who want to volunteer, and they actually literally dispatch them all across the city.
Right.
I mean, they go to food banks, they go to Dream Center, they've been to EduRec for the last 14 years. We do projects. They go to different churches and mostly not-for-profit organizations.
Typically, right.
But yeah, they just go and they just do projects to help those organizations continue to do the work that they're doing.
What I love most about them is they come together and pray first.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes you just can't go out to people because you don't know how people feeling that day.
That part.
So you got to have the right energy. So the beauty of us is we went over there to see the system. Because if you're going to do something, understand the system.
Right.
They come together. They pray. They get me because they have them glazed donuts and they be still warm with chocolate milk. So they got me right there.
Sad,
you know what I mean? They got the warm donuts,
Yep.
but they pray. They talk about what they're going to do. And they say the goal is to get out, man, and share and spread some love to people. So you may have a small church. They come in and pull carpet. They paint walls. They do flower beds.
We done had a little bit of everything over these 14 years. We done had all kinds of stuff. We done tore down walls. We done all kinds of stuff with Asbury. So, kudos to them. But what was special about this Second Saturday was that we had the Union Lady basketball players to come and participate with their coaches to do community service. And what was even more special about that was that some of the current lady Union basketball players were the original EduRec Lady Bears.
I know. And from them to go from 2'3" to 6'4", is different, y'all. I don't even know
It
if y'all know. So
is.
shout out to Coach Barry,
Yes.
a young man, and they got
Coach
a
Trey,
team.
yeah.
Coach Trey,
Yeah.
Coach Davis,
Yes.
and the crew. But to have an organization where Union girls basketball team want to come out and volunteer. And we did some videos, y'all. Y'all got to check it out. They out there riding zero turns. They got the blower. They got the truck. They painting.
Yes.
But what it's doing is, I think a lot of times our kids of this generation, we try to do more for them than what we had. So sometimes that can hurt kids because they don't know how to paint. They don't get to cut the yard. Right now we got yard maintenance people.
Right.
They don't even look outside.
That's true.
But and most of the girls, guess what? They've never did anything in a yard.
Right.
Think about us. We always breaking leaves because we had to.
We had to.
And they didn't. So to get them to have that, and now they was like, now that we came out with y'all, now y'all got to come to our game.
Yes.
So we're excited about.
And I got the schedule. They sent me the schedule.
You got the schedule?
Yeah, we got to make sure we get out to some games.
So shout out to them. We appreciate it. I mean, second Saturday wasn't no joke either because Chef Chad Cherry put it down.
Black History Saturday.
Black History. What I say?
You said second Saturday.
Second Saturday.
Well, that is kind of true.
Kinda
I mean,
together.
it kind of goes together.
Black History Saturday on second Saturday.
Yeah.
But shout out to Christy because she made another year. So for all the supporters that come along beside her to help, National Geographic is the main one, but everybody else, because the food was good.
It sure
a lot of families came out. We had a good time. But that's the final one of 2025, and we'll report back in February.
Yes.
Keep it going.
So that was exciting. And then I actually slid away from Edgerec for a little bit because the Zetas actually had a bowling event.
Right.
And so we went out and bowled. I think I ended up being number 3.
You can bowl?
So that wasn't bad. I was
you can bowl? Not really. Not technically.
Not technically.
But if you came in, don't tell nobody. Don't nobody know.
Oh, Twinkle Toes over here, kind of did that like the Flintstones.
Who did that?
Me.
Oh, you was Tinkle Toes. I didn't know who that was. Okay.
But we had a good time, and one of our sorors actually hit 200. I was like, what?
So she was
bowling. She had, the stance and everything. I'm like, okay, sis, go ahead and do your
I'm
thing.
comfortable because, a lot of times families doing reunion times, they bowl and stuff like that. And I'm pretty comfortable because it's fast and right down the middle.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing outside of that. All that spinning close and coming
I
over.
know, yeah. All the tricks.
All that stuff. If I do a trick, put the little railings up. The little railings that you can bring up. If I do one trick,
push it back,
because it's gonna crash and burn to the side. But I'm glad you could get out with sorors and have a good time.
Yes, we had a blast. It was so much fun just to hang out and to do something that just wasn't mission driven. It was just we just getting together to hang out and have a good time. So that was great. But then the highlight of my weekend was my niece Erica got married. So shout out and congratulations to Erica and Devontae, now Benjamin.
Congratulations.
On their wedding. It was beautiful. We had a blast, so much fun, so much love, bringing those two families together. I ended up being the wedding coordinator by default because I'm an auntie who owns an event center. So it's like, that's your job. I'm like, okay, cool. But it worked out amazing. They really had a really good time. Just celebrating each other, and it was a great time for us as a family to be able to watch their union and watch them come together. And that wedding cake was fire.
Well, shout out to them, man.
Yes.
We wish you nothing but the best, but to do it right, God bless that.
Absolutely. And that wasn't all we did.
I know.
It just keeps going. And then on Sunday, we ended up doing the Black Mama's baby shower.
Right.
Which was absolutely an absolute amazing event put on by Queens Village.
And look, hold on. That name, Queens Village.
I know.
They came and they was on the show.
Yes.
But when they said the Queens Village was putting that on,
then
I think that, and like I told the lady that was here, I pulled up for the food. I wasn't playing. I told her I would be there, and I was there, and I was the first one to get a plate, and it was really good.
Right.
But to see them celebrating all, because you see Mama coming in, she got one kid up here, 2 in the hand, getting in there. But seeing somebody show them some love, I think was really, really fantastic.
Yes, it was amazing. I mean, they had a lot of, gifts for the moms, to see the little babies come in and, kind of, got to hang out with some of them for a little bit. So, yeah, it was a really, really good time this weekend. Just shout out to everybody because Tulsa is buzzing right now.
It is.
There's a lot of great stuff that's happening in North Tulsa, which is the purpose of this show is to share. We try to let you guys know about these things beforehand so that you can come by and participate because this is for our community. So, if you missed it, I'm so sorry, but
you'll be all right next time.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it. Black History Trivia question. What do we got?
Black History Trivia question. I don't think we have sound today, so we're just going to jump right into it. Black History Trivia. Here it goes. Where was Sarah Rector's land located and how many acres did she have? Okay, so Sarah Rector, for those of you should have been clued in to the fact that there's a new movie out called Sarah's Oil, and we're going to talk about it in the second half. But for those of you who know that, where was her land located and how many acres did she have? Was it A, located in Taft, 150 acres? Was it B, located in Muskogee and 159 acres? Was it C, located in Glenpool, 160 acres? Or was it D, located in Langston, 140 acres?
Man, you ain't giving up. You don't even give people a chance. Now you got to go back over a century ago. Everybody done watched the movie and been fired up, and now it come time for the test. That's how people do you. They let you see some, then they go let me ask you a question. You're like, oh man, I was stuck on another part of it. Read it one more time. Hey, y'all on the live, don't do me like that. Hold on, let me give some shout outs. AJ's in the building.
Hey AJ, what's happening?
Tuning in from Jacksonville down in the J-Bone Lounge. Mom is on. Mom,
hey, Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I saw Uncle Brian. He was on me Saturday.
Uncle Brian.
Good to see you on, Uncle Brian. Cousin Lori.
Hey, Cousin Lori.
Saw her this weekend too. Welcome to the show. We got Chris Henry.
Hey, Chris.
Welcome to the show.
How are you?
We also got Natasha Mitchell.
Hey, Natasha, what's happening, sis?
Miss Childs. Bangs Childs is in the building.
Hey.
Beach Queen. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the show. So. And many, many others. We got a whole lot of secret listeners. I don't know what's going on.
So Natasha said C. Hold on. Where's my question? Right here. Okay. So Natasha said C.
We'll read the question one more time. And
okay.
Then we'll see. We got one more time.
You don't know the answer.
I sure don't, but I'm going to try to get there. So read it one more time.
Okay. Where was Sarah Rector's land located? And how many acres did she have? And let me just preface this. I should say it's located in Oklahoma. So for those of you who don't know, it's located in Oklahoma. Somewhere in Oklahoma. Where was Sarah Rector's land located and how many acres did she have? Was it A, in Taft and 150 acres? Was it B, Muskogee and 159 acres? Was it C, Glenpool at 160 acres? Or was it D, in Langston at 140 acres?
Mr. Jeremiah's on here.
Okay,
down
so
there from
Uncle
Mississippi.
Brian said C.
Yeah, and he said, because he history, you don't know we call him history. Okay. So since he said B, and he my frat brother, and we call him history.
Natasha said C.
I gotta go with B.
Okay, AJ said B.
Oh, and AJ said B too. I'm feeling better.
Jeremiah, Beach Queen. Anderson Willis. Oh, Tam. Okay, it said A. Tam. Lori said A. Okay, you said you going B, right?
I said it, and I said it with my chest.
Okay.
B.
All right, come on.
Yeah.
Easy.
B for bad man. No, I'm just saying. Hey, we can't really take a break. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna just run it because we love to drop. Normally we do a dancing studio, turn back, do the centipede. We can't do that today.
Nope,
because our producer trying to put it together. But what we're gonna do is roll right in to the medical report, which we do the second Wednesday of every month.
Yes.
Damali. So we're gonna get to it. And guess who live in studio?
Live in studio, we have our very own Dr. Andre Perdue.
Hey, look at that hand clap like that. You see that right there?
We get hand claps. Right. So Dr. Perdue, how are you?
I'm good. What's going on, family?
Hey. Man, we making it. You see all the stuff we got going on?
Woo, Lord.
That's a lot.
No.
It's a lot. I thought my life was busy.
So what's been going on since the last time we seen you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I had my wife celebrated me for my 60th wedding, my 60th birthday.
Yeah.
60th birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you. And she arranged for me to go to Los Angeles for a Rams game.
Okay.
What?
And it ended up being the ultimate Los Angeles sports weekend because the Dodgers won the World Series.
Yeah.
So we go to the Rams game. Then I ended up, she and I went to the Lakers game that night.
Yes.
What? Lakers won.
Okay.
And then we went to the stadium celebration on Monday.
Okay.
And got a chance to hear some of the speeches and just the excitement. There's nothing like winning a championship for a city.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
It just galvanizes people. It doesn't matter where you came from. Everybody's generally happy.
Yes.
And it was a joyous weekend. It was top two birthday celebration for me. So
Top
it was
two?
top two.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That
Oh, my
is
goodness.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had a good time.
I had a good time.
Hey,
I had a
shout
good
out to
time.
Jolie then. That's
Yeah,
the way.
she did a great job.
My queen killed it. She killed it.
Yes.
And the thing is that she doesn't rely upon me because I will always find a reason not to do something.
Right.
Because thinking about, okay, kids tuition and we
There you
got
go.
all of these other things going on. And she said, no, we're going to celebrate you. And it was a fantastic weekend. So if you're out there listening, love, I just want to tell you thank you again and how much I love you.
That's
That's good
awesome.
stuff. We were celebrating you last week right here on the show.
Right.
We said, we
Yes.
don't know if we're gonna be able to get them back.
Right.
All we seen was plane.
Hey.
Like he had an escort by jets. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, he out of here for
Well,
a little bit.
Hey,
That
listen,
is
we
funny.
were just happy that our plane took off on time and landed on time.
Oh my God, that
because-
was a blessing within
because
itself.
the way things are right now, you just don't know.
How was
Right.
TSA?
TSA was good. You know what? We with each TSA agent, we thank them for their service and
Awesome.
because they were working without pay and we wanted to let them know how much we appreciated the things that they were doing, and we should all do that. I mean, we should all be in a very appreciative mode all the time because listen, if we don't tell folks that we appreciate them, I don't think our government's necessarily going to do it. So,
Right.
so
No,
gotta
we
do-
waiting on
yes.
that. Yeah.
No, you'd be waiting a long time on that.
Exactly.
Let
Yeah,
me get this
Jesus
because
will be back.
Doc, he thinks deep. So I just got to ask you, right? Because you turned to big 60.
Mhm.
I remember just turning 21.
Yeah.
For most people, 21 is a big deal.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah,
big
30.
it's a huge, big deal.
They be saying dirty 30.
Yeah.
I'd be like, man, I'm
Yeah.
late to 30. 30, most of the time people feel old. I don't know why. People like,
I cried
man.
when I got
So
returned.
people don't want to 10. I received 30. I was
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
40. Now 50 is the other big one too.
Yeah.
40 is kind of all right. You kind of all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But man, when you go to sleep and you wake up and you're the 6-0, you don't look like it, not at all.
Well, I appreciate
But what
that.
do you think about when you wake up and say, God, you bless your boy to see 6-0?
You know what? I try to just stay in the moment.
Mhm.
My life has been so blessed. I mean, listen, we all go through trials and tribulations,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
lose people close to us, and opportunities are taken away from us, and things of that sort. But God is so good. As He closes one door, He opens other doors.
Right.
As one opportunity fades away, other opportunities present themselves. So, if anything, it's just galvanized my faith even more, and knowing that I have a loving and caring and protective God, and so.
Mhm.
You know what, even in the challenges that we have going on right now, God is still in control of all of this. So,
Mhm.
you know what, if we can lean into that and we can take care of our own folks, then, we're going to be okay, regardless of what the government does.
Man, let me
That's
ask you this, and this won't even be a hard question, but to make it to 6-0 is not easy. So if you had to tilt your hat to 3 people to say, let me tell y'all something right now on this live, these 3 people are the biggest reasons why I'm here, I'm sane, I got my mental together, and y'all know the doc.
Well, listen,
3 people.
3 people. I would say my wife, number one, because we've been together for 32 years. We'll be celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary, and she keeps me young, whether I want to be young or not. She keeps me young.
It's not an
No,
option,
it's not.
right?
It's
There you
not
go.
an option because you know what, she's got an agenda,
Right.
and her agenda is strong, and so
I love it.
so she's number one. I would have to say my mother and father as a unit because
Okay.
of the fact that my father has great genes. I mean, my father's 94, going to be turning 95 this year.
Oh,
He has
wow.
a sister who is 100.
Yeah.
Other family members that made it into their 80s. But I think who I am as an individual is from my mother.
That's good.
Mhm.
So they would be a unit, and I'd say the third person is my medical father or my mentor. His name is
Mhm.
Fernando Vanuela. He gave me an opportunity to practice a form of medicine that has kept me young and kept me vibrant, and
Right.
has given me fantastic opportunities to do the things that I'm doing in life and the things that I have done. So,
Mhm.
if there were going to be 3 people, keeping in mind my mother and father,
As a
keeping them
unit.
as a unit,
Right.
I would say those 3.
Yes,
That's good stuff, man.
awesome.
That's good stuff.
awesome.
We definitely celebrate you as well on today.
Yes.
I'm
Appreciate
glad
Yes.
y'all.
you had a great time. All right,
Yes.
Damali, I know we got a loaded show. Today is a day that you get your pen and your pad out. Let me get a couple more of these. Any more questions? Anybody came in on the Black History Trivia question?
So mom said Glenn Poole. So I
Mom
got
said
you,
Glenn
mom.
Poole.
You know what? You can put me down for C for that.
C?
one. Yeah,
C.
C.
Put
Doc.
Doc down
Yeah,
for
see.
C.
Okay. Doc. Okay, got
All
it.
right, all right. Okay, well, we're gonna get into the topic of the day because as we wrap up 2025 and go into 2026. The big thing we try to do is take care of each other.
Yes.
You know, and one way we do that is this year, Damali, I don't know what's been going on, but heart attacks and strokes have just been crazy like lately, you know, for whatever
us,
reason.
I mean, we just know a lot of people who have suffered those ailments. And so we're like, you know, what's going on? So what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about the caregivers.
Yeah. Right.
Because I think sometimes they're forgotten. They're in the background. Nobody's thinking about them.
They tend to be, unfortunately.
And so we want to talk about things that a caregiver who is taking care of someone who has suffered a heart attack or a stroke, what they should be doing or what they should know.
Yeah.
So of course I did a little research. So I'm gonna throw these out there and then Doc, you just chime in.
Can I ask you a question right before
ahead.
I just want to ask you because we talk about something sometime from our own experience.
Yes. Yeah.
We had a near and dear friend that had a stroke unexpectedly out of nowhere. And we woke up one day and even though we do all this stuff, we was caregivers and trying to put it together. And that can cause you some back pain, shoulder pain, neck, mental, physical.
Right.
Damali actually was like ground floor for a week.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad we're doing this today because it made it real for me because Damali is the most loving, caring, be there for you. She gonna give you a good hug and all of that. But after a week of being a caregiver,
it's hard.
She was driving home. She literally was crying.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Damali, what's wrong? She was like, oh my God, I had no idea how hard it was. She said, I feel like I just got out of jail. I'm like, jail? It's like a constant, you know, for us, we can relate. Now, I was just trying to fund the deal because I was like, a lot of stuff you doing, I just can't do it.
Right.
I can't get ready for it.
Yeah.
But we did do it together. I did that part. So that's why I'm glad we're talking about this today because you talk about the experience because you the one was crying. You the one felt like you was out of jail. Yeah. So as a caregiver for 1 week, where most people might have to be a caregiver for the foreseeable years.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so I would say this. So our IT person who actually moved here from Houston and was, you know, so we were her only family here. And we had grown to be a family. You know, so what years. She here like 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
3 years here in Tulsa. And but of course a 20-year relationship, you know. But anyway, you know, she suffered a stroke. And it was a catastrophic stroke where, you know, her whole left side was affected.
Yeah.
She currently is blind or going blind in her left eye. You know, no movement at all in her entire left side. So, you know, she was in the hospital, got out, and, you know, I'm like, okay, well, let me, you know, I'll go over and try to help you out, sis, as much as I can. So I literally like moved into her spare bedroom and stayed there for a week because we were trying to figure out what to do, if we were going to be able to get caregivers, like what we were going to be able to do. So in that interim, you know, Charles has kind of manned the ship and I was like at her house 24/7. I never left.
I think what's important to add is she had a stroke and the first one, she was kind of okay. Yeah. It didn't, she just had a stroke and it didn't mess with her limbs or any of that. But then 2 weeks later, which is going to the curve, she had another stroke and then a loss of the movement in her left arm, but she could still walk. 3 weeks after that, she had another stroke. And when this was the one that took her down, where now she can't walk, can't do this, and it's the full rehab situation. Wow. So I'm just saying, when we talk about the caregivers, maybe we could have done something different. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. To make it not be 3, you know, to be more aware of what she needs to be doing before, you know, she lost so much of her functions. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So during that process, you know, just being there and trying to be helpful, you know, but then you realize you got to cook, you got to clean, you know, she couldn't go to the restroom. So now it's, you know, I got to change bed sheets, you know, it's just like a whole lot that you don't even think about.
Right.
And I am telling you, and literally, then I was terrified because I, you know, like if any little sound, I'm like, what is that? You know, is she okay? You know, and I'm running in the room to make sure she's okay. So literally, I didn't get any rest the whole time I was there because it's almost like having a newborn baby, you know, and having a baby for the first time. Anytime the baby just, you know, you're just like, you know, right there trying to make sure the baby's okay. And so just taking care of her, just the whole mental, and then her frustration with not being able to, you know, because we're talking about somebody who's in their 60s, you know, or she was 60, I think at the time, that is used to living her life. Yeah. And now you're restricted to a wheelchair, you know, and her life was actually working on the computer using both of her hands, you know, to do computer work and stuff and being able to see the computer. And now you are challenged in that.
Right.
So
Let's-
now there's frustration with all of that,
Yeah.
you know. So
Can
yeah,
we
it was
go?
tough.
Let's go hot before we even get
Mhm.
into the points, because
Mhm.
this is your lane.
Yes.
When people deal with this. So when you see something happen to grandma or mom or dad, and now you see a family finna try, what is your thought at the moment? Like, oh boy, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is that, as a caregiver, is the fact that there is a feeling that, hey, everything relies on me.
Mhm.
And that's oppressive. It can be oppressive. You know
Mhm.
what, if it's your wife
Mhm.
or your husband,
Right.
and you've been married 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
and now it's like, okay, my responsibility is to take care of my loved one now for some indefinite period of time.
Right.
That's a lot.
Mhm.
It really starts well before then. I think, and we as a people of color, I don't think that we do a good enough job of this, of having a plan in place.
Mhm.
That plan in place, when it, is having your own will,
Yeah.
your medical,
Yeah.
how do you want your medical proxy to look?
Mhm.
If you are in a situation where you do need long-term care, do you have a long-term care policy? Do you have health care?
Right.
Man.
So much of what we do sometimes is related to, let me just get to the next day, that we don't think about
Exactly.
what next year is going to look like, or
Mhm.
what 10 years is going to look like. So for all the people that are listening, this is a great opportunity for us to look and do a survey of, if something were to happen to me, how would I take care of myself?
Yeah.
Who would the and who would this fall on? I don't want to use the term burden, because
Right. Yeah.
it's not a burden, but who would this fall on? Is this going to fall on my children? This is going to fall on my husband or my spouse? Do I not have anyone?
Mhm.
And if I don't have anyone, then what does this look like?
Mhm.
There are certain individuals that just do not have the financial wherewithal to have the resources that are needed. And if that's the case, they come to the hospital. We do the very best job we can to try to
Yeah.
locate them, put them someplace where there are services around them. But it is incredibly important for us to be thinking about this before the catastrophic event occurs,
Mhm.
first and foremost. Second point is that as a caregiver, when your loved one is in the hospital, that is a opportune time to make sure that you use social work and use
Mhm.
case management, as well as the medical teams involved, to give you a much better idea of what does this look like prognostically.
Right.
And then if my loved one does make it out of the hospital, do they need to be in a skilled nursing facility or a long-term care facility? Can they come home with hospice care,
Mhm.
which does not necessarily mean you only have 3 or 6 months to live. It's mainly a form of just getting more care in your home
Right.
for that 3 to 6 month period.
Mhm.
I think sometimes you use the term hospice. Everyone wants to say, well, my loved one's not going to die the next 3 to 6 months. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of just increasing the number of hands on deck
Yep.
during that 3 to 6 month period.
Yeah.
In this particular case, is very devastating, because it sounds like she had one event, and then 2 weeks later had another event, and then had several weeks later a third event. I don't know what transpired in her care. If she went to the hospital for each one of those events, what that medical plan looked like as far as working her up goes.
Mhm.
It's unusual for someone to have kind of recurrent stroke like symptoms like that just get worse.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a matter that it's a sizable stroke, and then through therapy and through managing blood pressure and things of that sort, certain brain cells will die. And when those brain cells die, sometimes your symptoms can look a little bit worse when you leave the hospital than when you were in the hospital.
Mhm.
But again, as a caregiver or someone involved in taking care of those individuals, if you're in the hospital with them, you want to know kind of, okay, what does this imaging look like?
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
the expectations that I as a family member, or I as a friend, moving forward? You know what? I love this individual, but I have my own life. I have my children. I have grandchildren. I have other things that I cannot devote 100% of my time to this family member or this friend.
Mhm.
What are going to be the resources that we can put around them? We need to ask those questions, and
Yeah.
and those questions sometimes are hard to ask, because it's almost like we're leaning into a bad outcome. It's not a matter of that. You're mainly trying to lean into having more information in case something bad happens.
Right. Right.
There are inpatient rehab facilities that can be instrumental in if someone has a stroke or heart attack or broken leg or whatever it might be. They can be located in these facilities, and they will do high intense therapy, both physical and occupational therapy, sometimes speech therapy. They can do these things underneath the roof of the hospital or underneath the roof of a healthcare entity, and maybe improve upon that individual from their baseline, get them to a higher point where when they get home, they can function at a higher level. But, there are some facilities that, you get discharged from, they don't send you to an inpatient facility. They just discharge you home. And it's like, okay, my loved one can't take care of themselves at home.
Exactly.
So, this is not appropriate. So if that means that I need to be transferred to another facility, or you need to help me come up with an out of hospital plan, as opposed to just sending my loved one home and having me manage them, because there may be the desire to get them out of the hospital.
Let me ask you this. What resources, something happened, mom, dad, friend, or our situation, coworker, what resources are within the hospital? Like, I'm going in, what do I need to make sure I ask for in the hospital before I even leave?
Well, okay, before you leave, you want to make sure that there is a social work or a case management work plan.
What does that have to do with that? Because most people like social worker.
So what that mainly means is that those are the services outside of the hospital. So say hypothetically, someone comes to the hospital and they've had a stroke, and it's a significant stroke. Well, one of the things that we would do, other than managing them medically, is we will make every attempt to get them into an inpatient rehab facility. I would say that St. John's and St. Francis, I believe that they have the same intention of trying to do the same thing. Now, there are times that patients are more borderline, and where they may not necessarily fit the bill of an individual that needs inpatient rehab services. So that means there's outpatient services. Now, is that home health, where they can come into the home and work with the patient, or is that actually leaving the home and going to an outpatient physical therapy center? Well, you know what? If you can't drive, then you need home health. Okay. Well, if you need home health, well, then that needs to be assessed monthly to see how long you need home health for. Those are things that the social worker and or case management can kind of help with. They can kind of give you an idea that according to this medical plan, this is what's going to ultimately be needed for your loved one, and this is how we need to execute it. You should make sure you have that plan before you leave the hospital.
So this is the thing that the issue that I had with her is that there was nothing in place. Meaning we're entrepreneurs, and so for me, after this situation happened, I'll tell you what I did. But as an entrepreneur, these are things that you absolutely need to be thinking about, right? And like you said, having a plan beforehand. So there was no plan in play, right? Because you just never expect that this is going to happen, right? So there was no medical plan. There was no long-term disability, not short-term disability. The life insurance was very minimal, and so now you're trying to figure out what can we do that the state can offer, which ended up being the problem, because it's like,
because it takes time for those policies. It takes time.
So now we're trying to fill the gap.
But the thing to keep in mind is that in the hospital, those policies can be put in place by social worker and case management in the hospital. So if someone needs disability or someone needs to start drawing Social Security, they can at least get the process started in the hospital. And so by doing that, then you may cut off weeks where you're essentially in limbo. But again, I understand the fact that when you're an entrepreneur, or sometimes we just don't think about that. We're living hand to mouth, trying to get through the day, and it's like, okay, well, you're telling me that I need an insurance policy that I may have to spend $150 a month on. I don't have $150 extra. Well, you know what? That's understandable. But that means all the more reason why, if you have an event, you got to go to the hospital, and you got to have some of these conversations in the hospital, so that if you have social security benefits, or you have disability benefits, or you have other types of benefits that may be associated with your job, that you have the ability to get those as quickly as possible, so that you're not necessarily without for long periods of time.
Let me ask you this, because in our community, all too often, and we know this, It's no plan, no matter. It just is what it is.
It is what it is.
And that happens more times than not. And that's why the GoFundMe is coming and all this other stuff is coming. But what are the basic things that a hospital or the state is supposed to still give to an individual that just don't have none of the things that we mentioned at a baseline?
Well, listen, when you have an individual that comes into the hospital, you know what, they're going to get the top of the line care. Okay. Right. So if there's a surgical procedure that's needed and you're homeless, you're going to get the surgical procedure. You know, we're not worrying about, okay, well, this can't happen. Now, you know, politically, other things may happen. You have somebody who is, you know, in really dire straits, okay, and they're homeless, then the question is going to be, okay, well, if we don't think this procedure is going to necessarily be particularly beneficial to get them to a point where they can really care for themselves, then you start to get into some ethical issues that is discussed among the medical team. But when you're in the hospital, you're going to get the best care. Okay. I can say that at Hillcrest, that's what's going to happen now. And I believe the same thing with, you know, our competitor hospitals and things of that sort. You know, the challenge you run into is, what do you have outside the hospital? And again, if you're not having these conversations with the social worker and with case management, as far as, listen, you know what, there are limited resources here. What resources do we have in this state that will allow us to, you know, if there's documentation that we need to get taken care of, as far as, you know, what is your medical directive is going to be now? You know, if you had a massive stroke, your medical directive may now be, hey, well, you know what? I don't really want to be resuscitated at this particular point. I don't want to be intubated again at this particular point. So you want to make sure that you have a medical plan moving outside of the hospital. And again, those services can be instrumental in getting you signed up for Social Security at a younger age and medical disability at a younger age. It takes sometimes months to get those dollars, but at least if you started in the hospital, they can at least put an urgency to it, where it may go to the top of the file a little bit sooner than if you just start this at home. You know, 2 days after you get home, you realize, okay, I need disability. You started at home, that policy may not come through for 6 months. And so now you've got to live off of your savings for 6 months to get you to that. In the hospital, they can expedite that to some degree.
And I will say this. So after this whole incident, you know, and me being there for my friend, which she was very, you know, like there were times when we both sat there and cried together because she didn't want me to do certain things. Like, we're friends and you shouldn't know me in this way.
I understand.
Right. But then on the flip side, what I was thinking about is, I don't want anybody to have to do this for me.
I understand.
In my mind, what I was thinking was, you know, when I am released to be here, I am going to get with my insurance agent. I'm going to make sure that I have all the protections that I need, because I don't even want my kids to have to do it. I don't want them to feel obligated because I am their mother. Like, okay, I don't want to put her in a home. Hey, I totally get now why people are put their loved ones in a home, because it is not like she was. How tall is Gloria? 6. She's 6 something. So she's a much larger woman than I am.
Okay.
You know, so there were times when, you know, she was falling and I'm like, if she fell on, you know, like,
I don't want to put like her whole like case study on the line, because we are between local, national, and all over the country. So
but just the point of, you know, when you have the differences in, you know, physical ability, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Then it's like, I don't want anybody to have to do that for me, you know? And so you need to start thinking about and putting things into play. But if you are, and you do find yourself as being a caregiver, what I found is this is 5 things that every caregiver
this is time to get your pen and pad out,
should know or should be aware of. So 1, to recognize the emergency warning signs, like we were talking about. You know, she had the 1 stroke and then turned around a couple, you know, then had another one and then had another one. Maybe there was something in between those that maybe, had we known, we could have, you know, intervened, where maybe she wouldn't have had the 2nd or the 3rd.
Let me ask something in like high level, Doc, because I think sometime in our community, I wasn't thinking about it, and most people don't. When somebody's had a stroke or a heart attack, they going home, but they going back home to maybe some of the same things they got them in a situation. So how many hot skins and sodas and cheesecakes can we throw away? I mean, how do you, because
Well, listen, I think, when you're in a situation like this where someone has a stroke, okay, and
Right.
it's easier for me because that's the world that I live in. When you come to Hillcrest, we have conversations about dietary changes. We have conversations about if you're diabetic and your hemoglobin A1C is 12, it's like, okay, that's twice the normal number. We got to get your diabetes under better control.
Right.
We talk about hypertension and controlling blood pressure. We talk about medical compliance. You got to be compliant on your medications.
Right.
You'll be surprised the number of people that you have lengthy conversations with them about, listen, you have these medical risk factors. And so these are the medications that are going to be specifically geared to manage these risk factors. Someone gets home and says, I'm not going to take my medication. Well, you know what? If you have that mindset, then the next question should be, should you go to the hospital? And if the question is, okay, well, I'm not going to do what anyone says. Okay, well, then you have to make the determination of what do you want your last days to look like?
Exactly.
And so, I mean, that's a frustration that we as medical providers have, that, listen, we can put a plan in place, but if you don't execute the plan, we're kind of at your mercy.
Is that what a social worker or maybe the mental health or maybe whatever comes in to be, because something can happen to anybody. And I don't think none of us may not know how we're going to respond to it actually happens.
Well, depending upon where your stroke is, if you have a stroke in your frontal lobe, that may affect your ability to process information. If you have a stroke in your temporal lobe, that may affect your ability to remember the things that you've been told. So, we try to take into consideration those factors when we're educating people. But you know what? No individual is an island. So that's why we want to have family members. We want to have church members. We want to have friends. We want to try to develop a community of individuals around that person, so that one person does not become the bell cow, so to speak, for that individual, because that's a lot.
It's tough.
That's a lot. You know what? If you're the only person managing someone, how do you go to the grocery store?
Right.
Okay. How do you go pick up your cleaning? How do you
pick up their medication?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you know what, you have to leave them unsupervised for a period of time, and so it's very important, if someone unfortunately has one of these kind of events, that we try to build a community around them. And the church, particularly in our community, the church is so important when it comes to things of that sort. And even if that means that you have 5 or 6 church members that that each one of them take a day that they will come by and they will sit with that particular individual, and just make sure that, hey, you know what, I'm gonna be here a couple of hours. Are there a couple of little things that I can do for you, and make sure that you're doing okay, and let me hand it off to the next person the following day. We need that. And the one thing that we do that in our community, but sometimes the biggest hindrance to our overall well-being can be us and the decisions that we make.
That's
right.
True.
And I can say too, a lot of times when these things happen, preferably on the weekend, when you get to the hospital and you potentially caregiver, it's just people all down the hallway. I mean, it's so you really got to go, because it's like a whole different world. Like Doc, he's used to the work because he's in the hospital, but when you rarely go to the hospital unless when you need to, but then you go into that space, it's a lot going on.
It's a lot going
on. And it's a lot to process, So that's why I'm glad we're having this today, because we focusing on what happens, but then the caregivers, and how do we make sure that they're going to be okay as well.
So I'm going to hit another couple of these, but I want to hit a couple of things
on the live,
first.
The live
okay, so Jeremiah says, thank goodness a doctor is there with you too.
I know, he the referee.
Don't do us, Jeremiah. Uncle Brian says, for those of you who missed the movie, it will be on Amazon Prime when the run in the theaters is over.
It's a great movie.
Tell Jolie they kicked me out because I said, I go Jolie. They said, get off. You just said that way too loud. I'm just saying, I know her. Hold on. I think that's her kids too.
My wife and 2 sons were extras. So,
that's awesome.
Let's see. AJ says, Doc, I'm still on my weight loss train.
All right.
I've lost
Good job, AJ.
Weight from 271 down to 230.
Good job, AJ.
He said, but I've been stuck bouncing between 230 and 234 for the last month. And I've tried doing this for 7 months. I know an adjustment I can do. Do you know an adjustment I can do to continue to lose weight?
Well, listen, you know what? A lot of times when we hit plateaus like that, we have to do something really different. So if you're typically, you have an exercise program that you're doing along with eating and drinking and things of that sort. what I would recommend is maybe to change up your exercise program a little bit, do something a little bit different so that your body is not as efficient in those type of movements. And that will help you to burn more calories. We get in the habit of, I'm going to do the same thing all the time. And your body will get to a point where it's like, okay, if I'm going to do 30 push-ups, well, you know what, your body will get efficient to a point where 30 push-ups is more like 20 push-ups.
Exactly.
So sometimes you have to kind of break things down differently. I would also recommend intermittent, if you're not doing this, intermediate fasting. So you know what, a good way to break up your program is saying, okay, well, you know, wait, Monday and Thursday, I'm gonna fast from 8 p.m. the night before to noon the following day. That's roughly 16 hours.
Right.
And then I'm going to eat between 12 and 8 and eat the same. You can eat the same meal, but for lunch and for dinner. But that intermediate fasting like that actually will help to speed up your metabolism. So those are some things to try.
Okay.
Also, I know sometimes we as people of color, we don't like doing this, but you know, swimming is fantastic for losing weight because you use essentially every muscle in your body. But it's getting cold outside. So if you're going to do it, go to your local YMCA or unless you got a heated pool outside.
Yeah.
Right. That's great advice because that's I don't even know if it's real technically intermediate fasting. I'll be just trying some stuff, y'all. But anyway, what I do is and it works for me because I'll be stuck like at 210, but I'm the type of person, the holidays are coming. So I try to intentionally go ahead and lose about 6, 7 because you guaranteed to gain some weight between Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year. So I try to go down about 200. And I do what you say, but the way I do it, because you never know what may work, is I try not to eat like after 8.
Okay.
And then I just go as far as I can the next day.
Yeah.
I might make it the next day to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do that like every other day a few times, I would drop 3-4 pounds.
Yeah.
And just drinking more water because my workout and my routine and all that is still the same.
Yeah.
But that's really the only thing that works if I want to just kind of drop a few pounds. So that was the great advice, Doc.
Okay, so AJ says that he moved in his mother and her sister home to take care of them for a total of 5.5 months until the Lord transitioned them to be with him. So when we're talking about, you know, but that's still that caregiving, it's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And
Can I ask you
taking care of 2 people. And so that's a lot. You know, you're to be commended on that, AJ. But I think there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Sometimes we feel like, okay, I don't want people to know my business, or you know what, they took care of me, so I should be able to take care of them. Don't lean into that because you know what, to be the best version of yourself, you need a respite. And essentially a respite is you need some time away. You need to get refreshed. And so whether that's other family members or whether that's friends or whether that's church members, you know, you need to have some time away so that you can get your own battery recharged, so then you can come back and be the best version of yourself. Yeah.
So AJ continues to say, yes, it was very hard on him. He said he understood why Damali cried. He said, I cried many nights in my bedroom and I stayed in. Uncle Brian says that he had both a heart attack and a stroke in a 3-year span. And it was very hard to be a caregiver. He said his wife was his caregiver, and a year and a half after he recovered, his wife ended up having several, I guess, strokes in a 2-year span, to the point that when she had them, it was in the midst of COVID during that time. And she didn't get enough care, didn't get the care that she needed, and she passed away.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Somebody else, who is this? Pearly, said great information. And Jeremiah said intermittent fasting, you know, with question marks. He said, thank you for that. AJ said, thank you, Doc. Okay, I'm going to do that because I'm taking notes. Uncle Brian says not enough churches like that care about you anymore. He said mostly because not too many people have the time anymore, which is true. And so anyway, that's kind of where we are with the live. But let's go back to our list. Okay, so we said number 1 is recognize emergency warning signs.
Right.
We talked about that a little bit. Number 2 is manage medications carefully. Number 3 was support healthy lifestyle changes. Number 4, encourage rehabilitation and emotional healing. And the last one, which I thought to me was the biggest one, and what you're saying too, Doc, is take care of yourself too.
Yeah.
So those were the recommendations that I pulled off of line just to kind of, and I think the thing that you talk about, Doc, is support healthy lifestyle changes. So when you talk about the eating and what you're doing, whatever that plan that's
Right.
put together is making sure that you're encouraging those lifestyle changes, avoiding smoking and alcohol.
Absolutely.
Those are some of the changes. So my question is, what do you do when a person doesn't want to follow the rules?
Man.
Like,
well, listen, you know what? That's hard.
Yeah.
And really, you know what? You almost you have to have a coming to Jesus moment.
yeah,
And I've had conversations with patients before and said, well, listen, you know what? You obviously don't want to do what I'm asking you to do. So when you come to the hospital, what do you expect me to do? If we're going to have the same conversation and you're going to do whatever you want to do,
right,
then is it better for you not to come to the hospital? And
Right.
whatever happens is happens. And you know what? And when you transition, you transition. I'm not advocating for that.
right.
I want to advocate for you, but I can't advocate for you stronger than you advocate for yourself.
Amen.
And
Right.
so
I love it.
and so you need to have these kind of conversations. And if someone says, hey, you know what? I'm tired.
Mhm.
And you know what? I don't want to fight anymore. Then it's like, you know what? That's valid.
Man.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love you in the space that you're in. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Does that look like we need to change your code status so that you are now a do not resuscitate and do not intubate? Or do we more or less say, okay, do we put a plan around you that moving forward, you're not going to go to the hospital? If something bad happens, then, we more or less kind of try to manage it from home with
Right.
over-the-counter medications or whatever it might be. It's okay to have those kind of conversations just so that you really truly know what someone's desires are. There's
Yeah.
some individuals that are just tired. You know what?
Yeah.
Their loved one is transitioned. They want to go home. They want to be with their loved one. It's like, you know what? I don't want somebody beating on my chest. I don't want these things. One of the challenges we run into is that sometimes we have other family members who don't want to honor that.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's like, you know what, if this is the way you feel, have those conversations early, so that everyone gets a chance to say what they need to say. You say what you need to say, and you more or less drive the point home that, hey, you know what, I'm okay. I'm okay with the plan of being a minimalist, because you know what, I've squared my affairs up. I'm ready to transition home to see my God and to see my family and to see my friends and things of that sort.
Yeah.
But we all have a tendency that when we don't want to lose our loved ones.
Yeah.
Right.
But we have to understand that our loved ones may, if it's better for them to transition, then we're being a little selfish trying to keep them here for our own well-being.
Exactly.
Right.
And I actually had to live that with my own mother. And so that was one of the hardest decisions I made, to let her go, because I didn't want to let her go.
Right.
But at the same time, the state that she was in, she wasn't in a state where she can enjoy her life. I mean, she wouldn't be able to eat, and she wouldn't be able to laugh, and all of the other things that she who she was. And so, you know what, you just have to say, listen, you know what, you go home, I'll see you again.
Yes.
And move on from there.
Let me ask you, how do you get, because my thought when a person's going through that, and emotions are high.
Yeah.
My thought is I always try to get a person in what their emotions are, that they in a good headspace, at least for a minute, then have that conversation.
Yeah.
How do you manage, or how can a caregiver manage between they just talking out of emotions? I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this, versus getting them in a space where you having that real conversation, where then you can feel comfortable, because we're talking like this. The emotion that nobody fussing, cussing, we got that, but this is what we really want to do.
Well, what it comes down to is you have to have multiple conversations.
Right.
Okay.
You can't
get
just have
bits
one.
and pieces.
Yeah, and you have to get people at a point where the acuity of the disease is not, oppressive. If somebody has had a massive stroke and they're lying in a hospital bed and they can't talk and they can't move, and you have a conversation with them, that's going to be a very different conversation than you might have if they are able to rehabilitate, and now you see them and they're outside the hospital and now they're walking with a cane.
Yes.
That may be a different conversation.
Yes.
But it's better to actually start having some of these conversations now, where it's like, listen, you know what, Mom, you are in good health, but how would you want me to handle if something like this happened? What are your wishes? We don't like doing that. We don't like having those conversations because they're uncomfortable. And I understand that. I get that they're uncomfortable, but they're a whole lot easier to have those conversations in this space than it is when you're in the hospital and you've got doctors that are giving you prognostically that your loved one is not going to do well. You want to have that conversation before you get there, because now all of a sudden, now you know, okay, well, you know what, mom, dad, they would not want to be resuscitated and brought back in a diminished state. They would not want a feeding tube. They wouldn't want to have a tube down their throat for the rest of their life. They wouldn't want those things. And so now you can honor them by the fact that you know what their wishes were when they were in a state when they had the faculties where they can actually have those conversations, as opposed to you're trying to make the determination in the hospital.
Yeah.
Let me ask, and I'm just asking this, and we're gonna switch back to the list, which I think is huge, man. Thank you for everybody tuning in. We got so many people in, local, national, international. We appreciate it. Click share, so your family and friends can hear, because we live. Doc, 80% of these things are preventable. That's the good news. But then 2, if you have a heart attack and stroke, it's not that you can't get back to a good quality of life, which is on the other side. I'm thinking if the caregiver and the person they supporting both understand that, it may make the journey they own together better. So maybe you can give them a few things. This is why heart attacks and strokes are 80% preventable. That's one. But if you so happen to have one or the other, if you immediately start doing these things, you can get back to 80%, 90%, or whatever percentage of your quality of life back.
Well, the thing to keep in mind is that when we make the statement that 80% of strokes are preventable, and I don't want to necessarily say 80% of heart attacks are preventable, because that's not necessarily in my field of expertise. But the reason why is that there are preventable risk factors. Hypertension, you can manage hypertension with medication. Diabetes, you can manage diabetes with diet as well as with medication, just like you can with hypertension. Elevated cholesterol or hypercholesterolemia can be managed with medication and dietary changes, as well as exercise changes. Obstructive sleep apnea can be managed with losing weight. Obesity can be managed with losing weight. If you have a cardiac arrhythmia like atrial fibrillation, or your heart skips beats, or your heart slows down, or your heart speeds up, those things can be managed with medication. So, keeping that in mind, you having an aggressive medical plan to manage those things, managing your exercise, you should be exercising regularly. Hydration, water is 70% of the body is made up of water, or made up of fluids. So with that being said, hydration is incredibly important. And drinking Pepsi or Coke or soda water or those types of things, that's not hydration. That's not the hydration I'm talking about. I'm talking about water and electrolyte driven drinks and things like that.
Our producer took a drink when you said it do what, it prevent what now?
So, with those things in mind, there is a good possibility that you can have recoverability. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is that depending upon the type of stroke you have, and depending upon the location of the stroke that you had, depending upon the size of the stroke that you have, will also play a prominent role in your ability to recover. If someone has a large stroke, then there's a less of a chance that they're going to be able to get back to higher functioning than if they have a smaller stroke. But that small stroke, if it's in an important area of the brain, or like the brainstem, then you may have a greater difficulty than if you have a large stroke in some areas of the brain. So, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 situation.
Right.
But that also means that you got to know your risk factors. You got to see your primary care physician. If you're having stroke-like symptoms, so we've talked about this in the past, be fast. You want to be fast in your recognition of a stroke, and be fast in your ability to get to be monitored for a stroke. B stands for balance issue. E stands for loss of vision or change in your eye ability. F stands for asymmetry of your face. A stands for weakness in an arm, leg, or an appendage. S stands for slurred speech, or unable to speak, or inability to understand speech. And T stands for time. You want to get to the sooner you get to the hospital, the greater the chances are we can do something for that. And a terrible headache stands for could be a stroke where somebody has bleeding in the brain, and it's an increase in pressure that causes that. So with all of those things being said, the reason why stroke is so difficult to manage is because it has many, many faces to it. So like we talked about, you can have a small stroke in one part of the brain and be more devastated by if you have a large stroke in another part of the brain. So the best way for the lay public to manage this is don't manage it on your own. Come into the hospital as soon as you possibly can. And that gives us the ability to hopefully to manage that. When you get to the hospital, now we start having conversations about, this is your disability. This is what we need to do to try to improve upon your disability, whether that is inpatient rehab or whether that is outpatient services. That's where case management is. That's what social workers are. So, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have resources for this. Okay, well, listen, let's go ahead and get your disability set up. Let's see if we can maybe have you. You're at an age now where maybe we can actually get you to a point where you can start drawing off your Social Security. Those are things that can happen in the hospital. It's not just a matter of managing the medical condition. It may be managing the affairs around the medical condition.
Right.
One of the problems that we have is that we don't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
We want to stay home.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? And it's going to get better. I'm going to go lay down and you know what? I'm weak on the right side of my body. I'm going to go lay down and you know what? I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be fine. No, now you're going to wake up and that right side of weakness is going to be complete. And you might have some weakness on your left side.
Wow.
So we need to be smarter. We need to be better.
Right.
We need to be more thoughtful from the standpoint that you don't go to the hospital. How does that going to affect your family?
Yeah.
Now your expectation is, oh, my wife and my kids can take care of me. Is that fair to them? That's not fair to them.
It's not.
Right.
So you know what? We need to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Doc, because and then in a simple term that most people can understand, we got a lot of people on. When you say different parts of the brain affected by stroke. So in a simple term, that way when people go in and mom, dad, whomever had a stroke and it was this part of the brain and that's what it's this, but front, a lobe, back, medulla, that's all the words I know. Don't judge me. But if it's a certain part, can you kind of break that down a little bit? Like if it's here, that means
okay.
this.
Well, listen, you know what? I'll give you a 1-minute anatomy lesson. Okay. So the front of the brain is where memory lies, as well as our motor planning. So you know what? As I pick up my phone and I'm punching numbers and letters into my phone, that's a motor plan that's located in the front of the brain. Our ability to process information is in the front of our brain. So if you have a stroke or bleed in that area of your brain, it can affect your memory, your processing, your ability for you to multitask, and all be affected by that.
Wow.
If you look at your the temporal lobe, which is by the ear, that is where your memory stores are. So, depending upon if you're right-handed, that means that you're left brain dominant. If you're left brain dominant and you have a stroke in your temporal lobe area, that's going to knock out a lot of your ability for recent memory and even remote memory. If you have an injury to the back of your brain in your occipital lobe, that is where your vision centers are. Okay. So if all of a sudden it's like, I can't see anything on the right side, well, you may end up having a stroke on the left side of the brain. Your parietal lobe is an area where your motor function and your sensory functions are. So my ability to throw a baseball or my ability to feel that I've got pudding on my fingers, that lies in that part of your brain. So, those are the major parts of the brain. All of that information dives down into your brain stem, and your brain stem then forms your spinal cord. So your brain stem is essentially the highway station between your brain and your spinal cord. So you can have a small stroke in your brain stem, and all that information that is coming down from your brain dives right through there. You can have a small area of injury and still have a pretty devastating effect from a stroke.
That's all your extremities at that point.
Yep. Okay. And then your spinal cord. I mean, if you have any kind of injury to your spinal cord, your ability to move your arms and legs are going to be compromised, but your thought process typically is not affected by that.
Man, that's appreciate that. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, the 1, 2, 3. Right?
Brain information for an 8th grader. At least. All right, that's good because I know we got another topic to get to. Cause we're not doing our traditional breaks and hand claps and all that. So, Damali, where we want to go next?
Okay, so where we're going to go next is we actually had the opportunity to go and see Sarah's Oil.
Yes.
If you guys do not know this story, this is a story worth knowing.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I'm glad that Dr. Perdue is here because he has also seen the movie, so we can have him to weigh in as well. So I will give you the storyline behind it. So the movie Sarah's Oil is set in the early 1900s, and a young Sarah Rector believes there's oil beneath the barren land she's allotted in Indian Territory. As greedy sharks close in, Sarah turns to family, friends, and some Texas wildcatters to maintain control of her oil-rich land, eventually becoming one of the first female African-American millionaires. Now, for me, this was, so we want to say this movie was inspired by a true story.
So let's go high level. We saw it and then what we think about it.
Okay, cool.
Doc, you saw it?
Yes, indeed.
So what is your, give it a grade?
Oh, well, I'd give it an A. I think it was incredibly important to see that the African American spirit is so dynamic and so bold, and for this 13-year-old to essentially not to crumble due to the pressures of the time,
Right.
where racism was at its highest. Where you had individuals that felt like they could just more or less kill you and just take your land, which
Mhm.
has happened to Native Americans also.
Yeah.
So it is not necessarily a story that is only seen in the African American community. So I was blown away by her level of intelligence, her drive. Her family was incredibly supportive. And I can't lie and say that that it still doesn't raise anger in me that that we as a people have had to experience this for 400 years, and and it may be a little bit more undercover now, but it will probably experience it to some degree for another 400 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Damali, what grade you give it in? Why?
I would give it an A. I think that it was an amazingly feel good type movie. Right. However, because I know a little bit of the true story of Sarah Rector, it wasn't necessarily factual. Okay. But what I appreciate about the movie is it gave you enough nuggets where you should want to go and research it for yourself. To find out about this young lady. So a couple of things that I noticed. Well, and so we've talked to a few historians who have shared with us that one of the things that they say in the movie was that she was 13 and she was doing all this stuff.
So we're going facts versus myths already.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna do this because I think
you want to do your
my grade.
Yeah, your grade.
Man,
first,
I
and
give
then
the movie a A because I seen Merton
Yeah.
singing and playing the harmonica. I seen Jolie and the
I
son.
know,
Hey,
right?
man,
Yeah.
Lord. And to just get opportunity, to get on the silver screen, to be on that stage, to me
I
is
think it's
humbling.
awesome.
It's good.
Yeah.
For people sometimes that don't even know the story about her or Oklahoma
Right.
or a land run or the tribes or none of that.
Yeah.
I think it was, if you're not even exposed to it at all, you might
Yeah.
even have no interest even looking at more into it. And I think Hollywood was Hollywood.
Hollywood be Hollywood.
I mean, it was it felt good because it didn't get too egregious.
Yeah.
In terms of how it probably could have been,
Right.
which is probably how it really was.
Yeah, probably how it really was.
Yes.
To have the young girl in a good light and being articulate and sharp, I like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
The way some work together versus others was into all of the other stuff. I don't want to give too much away simply because some people haven't seen it yet. Maybe not. But I give it an A for that reason. But then at the same time, you said it best, Damali. A lot of time in the film industry and stuff, it's not people like us that put it on, that do it, that produce it, that put it together. But you got to get what you can get at the moment. But let's just do a few myths, facts and fictions, just so people have that lens, and then send them somewhere where they can kind of do their own deep dive if they want to.
Okay, so the number one thing was that Sarah Rector actually received her allotment in May of 1905. At that point, she was actually 3 years old. Okay. She was a Creek citizen, right? And the part in it where they show like her signing documents.
Yeah, then she couldn't do that.
Yeah, she couldn't do that. And we already know that, from a legal standpoint, kids don't sign documents, right? One of the things that they say and they kept emphasizing was that this was a land grant from the state of Oklahoma, which is not true. It actually was an allotment she received because she was a Creek citizen.
Tribal member.
Yeah, she was an actual tribal member. One of the other things that they said was that that the dad was having a hard time paying the taxes on the land, the $30 taxes. Remember, they kind of talked about that a little bit. Well, there were no taxes on allotments for 20 years. When a Creek tribal member received their allotment, there were no taxes on that for 20 years. And the other thing, which I thought was interesting, because I was like, okay, why are they only just focusing on Sarah when in the movie you see she had a brother, she had a mom, and a dad.
Right.
So if Sarah is Creek, then that means everybody else is Creek.
Right.
So that means that everybody else got an allotment too, right? And so they didn't focus on that, even though I kind of get it because we're talking about Sarah, so we're making it about her.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that Sarah had 4 siblings, and they all got allotments, and mom and dad had allotments too. I think in the movie they kind of make it seem like all of her allotment was this whole 160 right here.
Right.
when that wasn't the case, because if you were an infant, from what we understand, if you were an infant, you were given kind of like the scraps of the allotment, meaning, you might have 20 acres here, 30 acres there, 50 acres here, it'll make up the 160.
Right.
But it's not necessarily all in one spot.
Right.
So there are some things that were just a little bit, but to me, I think the overall overreaching point of the movie, I think, still gave you the opportunity to even be able to know, because there are some folks, like my kids were like, I didn't even know about Sarah Rector, so now they're wanting to go research. So there is a book called Searching for Sarah Rector, The Richest Black Girl in America. It's by Tanya Bolden, and you can go and get that book. And that book is more on point to what her true story is all about. Not saying that the movie is, dead. I mean, there are some
Hollywood,
people, but it's Hollywood.
I knew at the end,
and
when
it's about what sells.
When it said Rockefeller, I'm like, Rockefeller did not come.
Some
of the stuff, I'm just being in Oklahoma. You just know Rockefeller came in with 36 million. Rockefeller did not come to Oklahoma.
Right.
But it's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood.
But like I say, the movie is from start to finish. A great movie. And it does give you a snippet, of what it is. And
one of the other things that we learned today is that Luther Durant, and I'm going to go look him up, but I just want to put this out there so that you guys know, Luther Durant was also a child who received an allotment. And from what we heard today, Luther actually had more money than Sarah Rector. But people don't really talk about
Is that
him.
Durant, Texas, or Durant, Oklahoma, like the border between?
So I'm not sure, because I just found this out. So I'm going to go and look him up. But I wanted to put that out there. Luther Durant, you guys do some research on it. But apparently he had more oil than Sarah Rector did.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I had never heard of this person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's why it's great. So Black History Saturdays, that's the other thing that we wanted to bring home, is that's why some of these conversations are, we need to have. And that's why you need to be in those spaces, because you get the true history, not just the history that's being fed to us. And that's why Black media, once again,
being held away from us.
Or held away from us, right? Exactly.
It's more of that than anything else, it seems like.
And that's why Black media is so important. Because Black media, we're going to go behind the veil to talk about, those things and those issues in our community, because we know the history. And so, and we know the stories, the oral history that's been passed down from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all in all, I still say, Uncle Brian says, I know where her home is in Kansas City.
Yeah. And then she being born, she's buried back in Taft.
Yes.
And I always hear about Muskogee had all those bankers and all that. So when I saw that part, I'm like, oh, I hear about that. Now to kind of see it. Yeah. Said Muskogee had
and
it
I
going
think
on.
I said that before they even said anything about Taft. I was like, oh yeah, that's probably Taft, Oklahoma. And then it showed them going to Taft, in order to talk to the bankers and stuff.
But with that being said, if you haven't seen it, get out to go see it. Take the whole family.
Great.
It's good for the kids, the whole family, grandma, grandpa, everybody. Shout out to all of the locals that got a chance to be extras or sing a little bit, do a little bit. Kudos to y'all and the work that y'all did to make that happen.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our Hump Day Hot Topics. And we're just gonna hit on these and just kind of move on, because time is
hit and go.
So we're gonna hit and go. So our number one is we want to just give you an update. So if you guys did not know, we are now, today is day 43 of the government shutdown. And this is the latest. The latest is the House is set to take up the Senate passed funding packages on this evening. So we'll see how that turns out. They're going to vote. It's scheduled to happen tonight at 5:10 p.m. With the vote to end the shutdown expected after 7 p.m. I don't know why it takes 2 hours, but okay. Democrats are expected to largely vote against the bill, but some moderates may vote along with the Republicans to approve it. Once it's passed, it heads to President Donald Trump for his signature, and he has indicated that he will sign it. This could happen as soon as Wednesday night. So we'll see, what's going to happen.
Doc, what you been thinking about the government shutdown? Is it?
I just love that.
We've been trying to make America great again, but this is day 46.
Well, listen, something.
I love how he filters this stuff. He got a built-in filter.
I know, right?
Or it's Jolie saying, hey, your birthday.
Trust me, my wife is trying to say, okay, hey, listen, you represent all of us now. You can't just go out there and tear your behind. You know what? It just reinforces two things. One, it reinforces that we as the Black community have to take care of our own.
Amen.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Can't depend upon the government for anything.
Amen.
Okay. If the government, gets back online and all of a sudden, you know what, we get the things that all Americans should get, then okay. Hey, you know what? Then maybe don't take your hands off the reins.
Yes.
But you know what? We can loosen the reins a little bit.
Yes.
Right.
And the second thing is that God is in control of all things.
Yes.
You know what? We have incredibly flawed individuals in a position of power on both sides.
Right.
The Democrats cannot say that, hey, this is only a Republican thing. They are equally involved in the mayhem at this particular point.
Right.
So that means that we need to take care of our own. I know our church and I know many other churches are doing fundraisers for individuals who have SNAP benefits that are lacking. Those of us that should make sure that we are contributing to that, to help our own, and eventually everybody will come back to the table, but we'll have another government shutdown.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is the thing now. It seems like every year there's a government shutdown.
Absolutely.
Right.
So you know what, this just happens to be the longest one. Does that mean that the next one's going to be longer? It very well could
be. Don't
right.
know.
That's a good take, Doc. Good job on that. For me, it's just like you said, they supposed to be the ultimate example of what all of us supposed to be doing. It's for us to vote y'all all in to shut it down and go home is really unacceptable, because there's a lot of people out here really hurting. All of y'all are typically well off. You're at least wealthy. If you're not a multimillionaire, you're at least wealthy.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, since they have no aptitude in this situation, it's very easy for them to be very cavalier. And then there's a mindset, well, listen, if you need SNAP benefits, then these are people that don't want to work, or a variety of other negative connotations on people that it has no bearing on anything. It is a way of it's a form of prejudice.
Right.
It is.
I totally agree.
Yes.
All right, Damali, what you got next?
So next, Oklahoma begins distributing partial SNAP benefits to eligible recipients. So this is the latest. Oklahomans with SNAP benefits should be receiving partial payments in the next 24 hours, the state announced on Monday. The Oklahoma Department of Human Services announced that it has completed the required system work to deliver benefits to eligible households as quickly as possible. Those households should see benefits by Tuesday, which was yesterday, according to a news release. Governor Kevin Stitt said Oklahomans stepped up and they continue to do so. He said, I'm proud of the team at the Oklahoma Department of Human Services for their tireless work to ensure Oklahomans had the information and the services they needed. As the shutdown comes to a close, Oklahomans can be confident that the Oklahoma Standard is alive and well. Now, SNAP recipients do not need to take any action to receive the benefits. According to a news release, they will be issued automatically. So that's what's happening in Oklahoma. I don't know what is happening in other states and what your state legislature is doing because of the federal shutdown. However, that is what we are doing here in Oklahoma. So kudos to the Oklahoma State Department of Health for trying to make sure that, because our community is hurting. If one hurts in our community, we all hurt.
I knew it was back. You know why?
Yeah, why?
Because I was driving by Oasis yesterday, and there was not one parking spot.
Not a single parking spot.
And I said something is going on, and I started to go borrow, a loaf of bread from somebody,
a piece of chicken,
something.
Something.
Yeah. Just in case we go back. I want to get some right now, know. Yes. But I am happy they did that, because with the holidays being right around the corner, I just did not want to think about, kids and families not having a basic, which is something to eat during the holidays. So,
and shout out to all of the churches that have been participating and trying to make sure, I know that, like, even our church, we're providing gift cards to folks that we've recognized, that need that assistance, so we're trying to fill in the gaps, and that's what the church is for. Historically in the Black community, that's what the church has done. In times of crisis, the churches have stepped up. So shout out to all of those churches that are doing it. I know that the Met Church, New Jerusalem, there's just a lot of churches that we know that are actually doing that. So, thank you for, making that possible for our community, because, there are a lot of babies that out there that need our assistance at this point. So, okay, Black History trivia.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Oh, I need to get this right today.
You do?
I just feel like it. You swing and miss. I watch the Dodgers win the world championship. I feel like I got to hit something. So I got to hit this one out the park.
Let's see what you have. So Black History Trivia. Where was Sarah Rector's land located here in Oklahoma, and how many acres did she have? Was it A, Taft and 150 acres, B, Muskogee and 159 acres, C, Glenpool with 160 acres, or D, Langston with 140 acres? Now, Tam said A. Let me see. It looks like Beach Queen, AJ, Jeremiah, Charles, and Mom said B. Uncle Brian said C. I'm sorry, Mom said C. I'm sorry, Mom, put you in the wrong place. Mom said C. Uncle Brian and Natasha and Doc said C. And if you said C, you are absolutely correct. So you are wrong. So Sarah's oil was actually
I just watched the movie too.
I know.
Yeah.
It was actually located in Glenpool, Oklahoma.
That's right.
And she had 160 acres. Actually, it was 159.17 or something like that acres, but they rounded it up to 160. So this week's Black History Trivia question is sponsored by Black History Saturday.
Doc, you get it right?
And today,
good job. It's your birthday. You had to come out swinging right? All this good. Look, give me something. You got a lucky charm. You got something. Right. You blessed something. Give me something before you go.
Right. Okay. I actually left the book in the car. My bad. But the banned book of the week is A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. Raisin in the Sun examines the efforts of racial prejudice on the fulfillment of an African American family's dream.
And we are in a world now that bans books.
Man.
Isn't that crazy?
Ain't that it?
Yeah, that's the world we live in. But we got a banned book library at Edgerac. So if you want to, we got multiple.
And the banned books, when did that actually become implemented?
You know what? I don't know. But it's been the last several years. Yeah.
Was it under Biden that we were actually banning books?
They started under
we started under him.
Yeah, we started under Biden, and then it's just
they passed House Bill 1775, which you couldn't teach Black history. Then right behind that, he got into the banned book. So it's been about 2 years. But it's crazy. It's in my mind. You got all these different cultures and nationalities.
Yeah. So essentially, what the idea is essentially to educate on one culture.
Educate on one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's still, you don't see them doing nothing like, well, the Hispanic can't say that because of ICE. But in terms of like culture and history and books, who wakes up and said, I just want to ban Black books? I mean, think about it. I just want to ban. Why? Other than like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I won't get on my soapbox.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show.
We might be here till 6 o'clock tonight.
So this is the funny thing. So I just said, when did the banned book movement start? And it said it actually started in 1982. Banned books began with banned bestsellers, authors, publishers, teachers, and readers of all types. So I guess we never really paid much attention.
No, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Because in Oklahoma, the big band book started when, like, here. Because this is where we live. That might have been something else that might have got reversed. Or something.
So they say in August 2023, restrictions started being placed on teaching of Shakespearean plays, literature, and the other banned books. So 23 is when it kind of really.
Look, Uncle Brian gonna say Charles strikes out again. See, he was. They be your own people.
Jeremiah said birthday luck.
Birthday. See, I swung hard too.
Come on now.
You know how you swing and fall? Right. Swing. I done spent around 2 times. I'll be back next week. I'll be back.
Oh, okay. Funny.
We got some upcoming events.
So a couple of upcoming events. So don't forget to tune in to Soul of Sunday with Corey D every Sunday from 1 o'clock p.m. until 3 o'clock p.m. on nycu.fm or on Facebook at nycu.fm or Corey D. Taylor. Tonight, this is very important if you are a Tulsa citizen. Tonight, the State of the City is going to be happening at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Tulsa Performing Arts Center, Chaplin Music Hall, and it is open to the public. So the mayor is going to be speaking and letting you know about the state of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
You excited about that?
I am. I really want to hear. I mean, I think the mayor has been doing a really good job in trying to be so inclusive and doing things that are going to turn our city around. So I'm really interested to see,
Doc, how you feeling about the mayor and this?
I think it's fantastic. And I'm trying to think back. I mean, have we had a mayor that is this a commonplace thing? Or I mean, I don't remember if Mayor Bynum actually ever did anything like that.
they normally have it, but normally sometimes it's a
We're not
cost
there.
to it.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
free. It's
Okay.
this one.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it'd be some other thing, but this is free. And even if you can't make it, they either got a YouTube link. We
Yeah.
posted all of this.
Mhm.
So if you can't show up, this is what everybody be talking about. Then at least go to the YouTube link and
Yeah.
check
Right.
it out. But I'm extremely excited about it.
Yeah.
Our first Black mayor is
Mhm.
right at a year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we want to hear what he's been doing, what he's up to,
Yeah.
what's coming into the future. And I'm sure he'll address all these things that's going on, but I just think he's doing a pretty good job
Yeah.
thus
Yeah, I
far.
think he's doing
Yeah.
a great job. I
Yes,
really do.
absolutely. We're going to be doing a turkey basket giveaway
Yes.
on this Saturday, November 15th. If you would like to donate to help feed families, you can give at edgerectulsa.com, or you can give us a call and if you would like to help volunteer. Shout out to the Zetas for volunteering to come out to
Right.
help us pass out those gift baskets. You know, we're looking forward to being able to do that on Saturday. So yeah, I mean, there's still organizations that are out there trying to help, families.
And if you've never been by Iron Gate,
Yes.
man, Iron Gate is tough to ride by. You got to ride and pray
Mhm.
because there be hundreds
Mhm.
of homeless people.
Yeah.
They're just out there around
Yeah.
there. And we going to serve probably up to with our partnerships. We've been doing it for 10 years this
Mhm.
year. So we serve like around 1,500 families
Mhm.
of 5. So I think that's always outstanding. So
Yes.
if you want to support that, sometime you're at home and like, I ain't got time to get out. But here you go. And if you need something, reach out to us.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street.
And so this is a partnership that we've been doing, as Charles said, with Lawyers Fighting Hunger.
Right.
So shout out to that organization because they do a great job, and the donations are solicited from all across the state from local attorneys that are interested in trying to help make sure that families
Right.
eat during the Thanksgiving holiday.
Right.
So thank you guys so much for all of the work that you do. And we appreciate being able to ride along with you guys for the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
So just want to remind you guys once again that the Black Wall Street Rally 2026 dates are May 14 through 16, 2026. You're asking me why do I keep saying this? Because what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to get a hotel anywhere around. You're going to be getting a hotel in Oklahoma City and having to drive down if you continue to wait in order to book your reservation to come to Tulsa.
Look, we hosted it this year.
Yes.
We hosted, and it was people. You look at some of the pictures. I mean, it's no room by the stage,
Mhm.
and it's like that all the way throughout. And a lot of people were saying, "Man, I need to get the dates early because I had to drive from Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I had to drive from that far away just to get a room." So that's why we're telling people the dates early. So get your room, get your Airbnb early, because about 6 months in, just go on down the turnpike to Stroud. Go on down the turn to Bristol. Go on
to Glen Pool.
Glen Pool, Stillwater. Just go. But we telling you early, not just can you can get a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then the
Yeah.
prices start doubling and going up. And you know
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Yes.
But anyway, get your ticket. And
Absolutely.
we're going to be hosting. So we'll be on the main stage.
All right, birthdays. So yesterday was my baby sister's birthday, Kalila.
Happy
She
birthday.
celebrated her birthday. November the 12th, which is today. Radhika, our good friend Radhika, she has a birthday.
Radhika. That's
And
my
then,
sister.
yes, November 14th, Nigel Hooks and Gina Tisdale
What?
both share a birthday.
Happy birthday.
So happy birthday,
family.
ladies. Hey, it's all women this week.
Huh?
This is
It's
all women that for the
Yeah,
birthdays that we have
It's a
this week.
women's movement right now.
Okay. So we want to remind you guys, if you want to hit us up, you can hit us up on any of our social media platforms. That is the 36th Street North Event Center, World One Development, EduRec Youth and Family Fund Center, Fitting Back In Prison Reentry, or nycu.fm.
Yeah, Jeremiah down in Mississippi said, "Go home safely and giggle at Donald and the Epstein files." Them Epstein files, at some point, they're going to have to Damali do something with that. Because it seems like everything's a deflection from them files. Boy, they is staying away from them files at all costs. Doc, final words for the people, man. There's a lot of people locked in with you today.
Oh, listen, first, it has been a fantastic journey. This does not mean the journey's over with, but I just want to say that. Just Doc, you leaving? No, I'm not leaving. It's been a fantastic journey. I so greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys and to spend quality time with you. This is a very important issue in regards to caregivers, and and caregivers typically are forgotten in situations like this. But you know what? You guys are vitally important. You got to take time for yourself, and you know what? Let's do the work on the front end as best we can. We can't do it in all situations, but there's no reason why we can't. We have family members that their health is failing or their health isn't very good. Have these conversations about how they want to have their affairs managed early, so it's not a situation where you have one half of the family feels that things should be done one way and another half the other way, and then you bring that energy into the hospital. No one really wants to have to to deal with those kind of things. So have those conversations on the front end and let the hospital resources work for you.
Right. That's it.
I love it.
Doc, the next time you're in here, it's going to be the last month and the last show of the year. Has it been a fast year for you?
It has been, man. it has been. So, but you know what? That's what happens, man. You know what? You got to keep your feet moving, and if you and when you close your eyes, if you're blessed enough to open your eyes, then that's another day. So you just keep it moving.
That's it. Final thoughts, Damali?
Final thoughts. I agree with Doc that we need to be thinking about all of this stuff on the front end versus on the back end. And so, I think next week we'll be talking about wills, trust, all of those things, because as the year wraps up, then if you have those things, one, you need to pull them out and review them,
there you go.
Because what happened 2 years ago may be very different from where you are today.
Yep.
So we need to be pulling those things out, looking at those, making some revisions so that January 1 of 2026, we're walking in with the new vision for what our lives are going to look like or how we want our affairs to be handled. Should something happen, we pray not.
Yeah.
But let's make sure that we're on the front end. We instead of always coming up short.
Right. Yeah. My final thought is do what you can do till you do better.
Yes.
Doing what you can do is about asking questions.
Yeah.
So talk to your insurance people, talk to your medical people, talk to whomever you got just to say, hey, right now I'm scaling back. Right now it's not bad to scale back because things are kind of shaky.
Yeah.
So scale back to where you feel comfortable, and then you can just scale up as you feel comfortable about the things that's going on in that country. All right. This has been News You Can Use with Charles and Damali. To reach us here on the show for advertising, hosting, marketing, promos, community engagement, or to appear live on our show, please go to nyc.fm, complete that form, and we will reach out to you. Also, please subscribe to stay up to date on all of the latest happenings and receive breaking news first. This has been News You Can Use. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Charles Harper.
And I'm Damali Wilson.
And we are live every Wednesday from 1 p.m. until we get off, so make sure you tune in. Love y'all.
Yes.